Coming up on MCTV, longtime MC employee publishes a book. MCTV starts now. Welcome to MCTV. I'm Erin Hinkle. COVID-19 cases may not be in large numbers in small rural counties, but they are still feeling those effects. Knox County Health Department Public Health Programs Director Elizabeth Hippen said that COVID-19 is affecting every aspect of college life, but it is important to have full campus cooperation with safety guidelines.
COVID is very real, as much as you might think this is a government hoax that'll disappear by November, or if it's not a big deal. Granted, while the population or the amount of positive cases of the population versus the population that's in the United States is very small, that number is significant, and it's hard for me to determine how you explain to someone that COVID doesn't exist when their whole family's been affected by it, or it's almost an insult saying those people who've gotten sick don't matter. It's such a small population, it doesn't affect me, it's fine. It does affect you. It affects everyone in the community and everyone around you. And when you've been identified as a contact or a positive case, when the health department calls you to do that contact tracing, it's not for us to invade your personal space. It's for us to gather information so that we can stop the spread of COVID and to keep everyone as safe as possible.
For more information about safety guidelines, go to monmouthcollege.edu. A former Monmouth College admissions counselor has published a new book describing his more than 42 years of experience helping students find their home. Pitts retired from Monmouth College 15 months ago, where he worked as an admission counselor, recruiting over 2,000 students to Monmouth College. Pitts wrote his new book, After Breakfast, I Changed Lives, after friends and family told him his stories needed to be shared. Pitts did not view his job as a sales position, but rather a way to tell the story of Monmouth College and to help students find their new home.
But it's from the heart. I've touched the lives of so many people over 27 years. I just had to somehow pay homage to all those people. It's not perfect, but it's got some really neat philosophical notes in there.
Pitts has been named this year's Distinguished Service Award winner for the Alumni Impact Awards. After Breakfast, I Changed Lives is available on Amazon. A new pop-up exhibit honoring the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution is at the Warren County History Museum. When the United States Constitution was drafted in 1787, it left the power of deciding voter eligibility to the states. Constitutional amendments slowly shifted the power of deciding eligibility to the national government, according to the National Archives Museum. The 19th Amendment was ratified on August 18, 1920. This amendment ensures that voters cannot be deemed ineligible to vote on the basis of sex. Many women were still unable to vote for reasons other than
explores the many challenges of women still trying to fight for the right to vote, even after what felt like an enormous milestone.
Rightfully Hers will be available at the Warren County History Museum until the end of the year. Warren County History Museum is open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and exhibits are free until December. Monmouth College Greek Life was informed to move everything planned for Rush Week from in-person to virtual the night before recruitment was set to begin. Sorority recruitment was set to start on August 18th, and after months of planning to have a safe in-person recruitment, Greek Life was told to move everything completely online the night before. As expected, moving the event to all virtual affected members for both sorority and fraternity recruitments. Panhellenic President Madison Nelson said that numbers were greatly affected as they started out with 35 women enrolled and ended with about 22.
So like I said, we had a lot of really great ideas that we were all really excited to implement this year to strengthen our in-person recruitment, and those weren't able to be used, unfortunately.
Virtual recruitment, of course, was not ideal, but we tried to see it as positively as we could and went into it with a positive mindset instead of thinking of it as a huge obstacle that was in our way.
Each sorority received about 5 to 8 new members from the recruitment experience and were able to celebrate their bid day in person with masks and appropriate social distancing. Fraternities are still finishing up with delivering bids and waiting on exact numbers. Monmouth College had its first art exhibit displayed this academic year in the Lynn G. Everett Gallery in Hughes Library. Monmouth art professor Stephanie Baugh presented her exhibit titled Context, which featured paintings, collages, and sculptures. Many of her paintings featured passages from texts using letter form abstractions, while other pieces had more of a focus on nature. Some pieces included items such as glass bottles, string, sticks, and razor blades as part of a collage.
A guiding principle behind my work is to be sure I leave plenty of room for the viewer to contribute. I often, in teaching art, compare the process of making art to the process of writing something like an essay, because we go through drafts and you have to do a lot of revision. There are many things that are similar, but what I feel is missing, at least in my work, in that analogy, is that I don't necessarily have a thesis statement. I'm not necessarily trying to communicate something specific, because I want the viewer to be able to fill in those gaps with their own experience and their own interpretation.
The exhibit's last day for viewing was September 10th. Baugh will soon introduce a feature in the upcoming 64 Art Show at the Buchanan Center for the Arts in downtown Monmouth. For more information about Context, visit the exhibit's website. Coming up after the break in sports, athletes return to the field with new safety precautions.
I went on a study abroad trip to Costa Rica for 10 days with the biology and Spanish department. A couple things that I took away from the experience was that I had never been to a different country before, so I was able to experience a new culture, a new country, and even though we had prepared a lot for it, it was still kind of a shock when we first got there, all of the differences between American culture and Costa Rican culture. I would recommend to anyone that they should study abroad because you're getting outside of your comfort zone and experiencing a different culture where you're able to apply things that you've learned and then take away from real life experiences.
Like so many teams across the country, the Monmouth College baseball team had their season cut short this spring. Now, this fall, they try to make up for lost time. The Scots baseball team has begun their fall practice. However, it won't look normal this fall, with COVID restrictions keeping them from practicing as a full team.
Hopefully by the end of the fall, we'll be able to go through 3 different phases. Phase 1 being groups of 10, phase 2 being groups of 20, and then hopefully on phase 3 we'll be able to practice in groups of 50. So hopefully we'll have the full team out here by the end of the fall.
The Scots officially began practice on Tuesday in groups of 10. The group looks to build on back-to-back MWC tournament appearances in their last 2 completed seasons. Recruiting athletes can be challenging in any year, but especially so during a global pandemic. Women's soccer coach Nick Rizzo said that this year has been the most difficult with not being able to see players play in person. This was particularly difficult for freshman Olivia Turley, who had committed to McMurray in the spring 2 weeks before McMurray closed their doors for good. Rizzo watched her highlight film and asked her to come to Monmouth.
Psych them out, head that shit in.
Because my problem was I didn't really have like a second choice in mind. Like I was like, oh, McMurray, like that's the one.
I think that's been the most difficult thing, is just trying to navigate what it means for us as coaches. And so it's going to be a very interesting year across the board for coaches, trying to figure out how the heck they're going to survive and get the kids that they need to get and make sure that they're also keeping their current kids happy, because I think that if school starts shutting down and sending people home, it's going to be a very interesting time for a lot of schools. And so continuing to keep your kids safe and promote good behaviors, I think, is going to be the number one thing for all of us going these next few months.
At this point, with no games in 2020, the team is doing a shorter, lighter practice season, according to Rizzo. The Monmouth College's men's lacrosse team is looking forward to showing last year was not just a fluke. The team started 4-0 last year and ended 4-2 after the season was shut down because of COVID-19. Even though the team graduated 8 seniors, including all 3 of their starting defensive men who led the NCAA division, this year they are confident that they will win a conference championship for the first time in the program's history.
we did lose a decent amount of our seniors, and they were the people that built this program to what it was. So I'm hoping that the remaining players that we have, they step up to the plate. I mean, we got a lot of roles to be filled, especially on the defensive end. We got a lot of boys that, I mean, they have a lot of potential, and they got to step up to the plate and take the role and make sure that, no one enters our kingdom and messes with our defense.
The men's lacrosse season is still set to begin in the spring. And that's MCTV. I'm Erin Hinkle. You can also watch us online by going to monmouthcollege.edu/MCTV. See you next time.